Now for more insights, we're joined by Ankur Patel, co-founder and chief investment officer at R² Macro. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Ankur, our reporter addressed some of these short-term concerns, but what about the long-term impact of this demonetization drive on India's economy?
I think the stated objective for Modi was to fight corruption. And on that front, the evidence so far indicates that the corruption kind of campaign that he has won't be particularly effective, particularly because so much of the corruption is non-cash based, involving things like property, jewelry, gold, and overseas offshore transactions. That being said, I think the long-term impact on the economy can still be very positive as more money enters a traditional banking system. With increased deposits, you get better lending activity. It broadens the tax base. The push to digital payments will actually increase consumption longer term. And then also the monetary policy transmission channel becomes more potent, and that allows the RBI's rate cuts to also become more powerful in the long run.
Now, a lot of people are wondering when this is going to normalize. You have India's president saying on Thursday that it could lead to a temporary slowdown. Is it a case of one step back to move two steps forward?
That is very much the case. I mean, I think incoming data, we've seen data, the PMI data for December, and it does not look very good. The Indian economy has certainly taken a hit. That has to do with the fact that the currency ban itself represents 85% of the cash in the system. Over 3/4 of all transactions are cash-based. Most small businesses only accept cash as a form of payment. So the consumption hit, there was no way to avoid it. But in the longer term, as more merchants accept digital payments, credit cards, debit cards, and the like, the rebound will be fairly substantial.
Now, as you mentioned, this demonetization was presented as a way to reduce corruption and graft. So can we expect more on that front from Modi?
I think that will absolutely be the case. In his 2014 campaign, Modi said corruption, the fight against money laundering, tax evasion, counterfeiting, it was very much the forefront of what his platform stood for. And this currency ban is really only one step. Other measures have included raids for income taxes, for example. But in order for Modi to be truly effective, he needs to instill more transparency into the entire system. That includes going after offshore transactions that have been illegal. It also includes simplifying the tax code, and then finally having a better e-payments infrastructure so that India can monitor where the money is going in and out of.
And as we look at the business impact, we saw that the currency moves really hit small enterprises the quickest and the hardest. So what fallout or perhaps opportunities does this open up for larger corporations that are not cash-based?
I think for larger corporations, they could certainly take some market share away from small businesses, but that only remains the case if small businesses refrain from moving to digital payments. I think the evidence so far indicates that more and more small businesses are accepting credit cards and debit cards and other forms of e-payment. That's going to make the opportunity for large businesses a little bit less substantial than we initially thought. But large businesses, for the most part, should be fairly resilient.
Now, as we look ahead, India has enjoyed a reputation as being one of the fastest growing emerging markets. How do you see this demonetization move affecting that?
I think India this year, despite the hit that we saw late 2016, India this year should grow close to 8%. And that has largely to do with the fact that the Indian economy is still benefiting from the rate cuts that the Reserve Bank of India has delivered. As more of the currency, the counterfeit currency, exits the system, I think inflation rates will fall. That will allow the RBI to cut rates further, and that will stimulate the economy as we enter into, later into 2017, heading into 2018. That means India is going to be one of the fastest growing economies around the world, and its growth rate is actually going to exceed that of China's, for example.
And Ankur, just quickly, as we look at what's happening with the economy and we're looking ahead, what sectors do you think will really drive India's growth this year?
Anything related to digital payments. So the financial sector should benefit, online retail, anything related to e-payments, for example, should really benefit. It's only the cash-based sectors that will be hit the hardest.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. We'll have to leave it there. Ankur Patel, co-founder and chief investment officer at R² Macro.